I'm Edie Lush, and I'm the executive editor of Hub Culture. Absolutely delighted now to be with a friend here in the studio, Sachin Duggal.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Chief Wizard of Builder AI has stopped by. Now, the theme this year in Davos is collaboration in a fragmented world. When I say those words, what do you think of?
You know, it means so much. It's fragmentation on this sort of geopolitical basis, which I guess is the nexus for the conversation. But from our lens, it's also fragmentation within the economy. You know, you're seeing traditional businesses that are now fighting to stay relevant in an ever digital world. And they're saying, especially the small businesses, I will not go silently into the night. You're seeing people that have ideas and have a lot of passion behind those ideas, but no idea how to get it built. And you're just seeing a massive disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And so I think it's a fitting title, but it goes way beyond geopolitics.
So I wonder if you can touch a little bit about what you do, because I think what you do is so incredible. You are enabling people to bring their ideas to market, to the world, quite quickly, and using some clever artificial intelligence. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the way we see about the world is everyone wants to unlock their human potential. Nobody wants to be irrelevant. Those two things require people today to build software. But when you give people a blank piece of paper and say you need to write code, you need to build product, they're so lost. And it's the fear of failure that stops them. And we think about what else they do, right? A restaurant owner, did they build a kitchen? No. Did the retailer build a factory that produces the garments? No. So why do they have to suddenly be an expert or a computer scientist or a programmer? And what we found was that when you take into account everybody that wants to unlock their potential, what is the one thing they can all do? They can talk. And so if we made talking the user interface and everything else we used AI to extrapolate to understand what is it you are talking about? What is it that you need to build? What do I need to ask you? Like the 5 things I need to ask you to get to the right answer. The rest of the software is pretty elementary. The other thing we found was that most software applications are pretty common. So if we can take speech at the front end, we can figure out what is common so we don't repeat it, don't waste it. We can allow anyone to build anything they want, from the little girl that wants to build Pinterest for butterflies, through to the bakery that wants to ship cupcakes locally in the Middle East, through to a large enterprise that wants to do new product distribution.
So you've given me some very good examples there. Give me an example of something that a customer has been able to do as a result of being able to speak their idea to you and have the, sounds like, is it generative AI that does it? Or is it like building blocks, like Legos? How do you describe it?
It's a bit of both. I would say we're very early in generative overall. I know with everything that's happened in the last 4 weeks.
ChatGPT, everybody's super
DALL-E
excited about
it. And sort of the other E's. I think that is where the internet was day one. And there's so much more to come. But we don't need to generate. Because in fact, a lot of what makes modern day applications, right the way from simple applications for e-commerce through to getting your employees to learn online, right, or new product distribution, they're built on common frameworks or building blocks. And that doesn't need us to generate. That just needs us to write once and intelligently use again. The real power to me is being able to understand what someone is saying. What are the 5 things to ask them? And then making sure they get to the product they need without necessarily them having to become experts in being an orators in what they want to say.
Interesting. Can you tell us what the 5 questions are?
No, I mean, it's 5, it's dynamic. So that's the whole power of it, right?
Oh,
because it's not the same 5 questions you ask everyone. So, you know, imagine you're a restaurant owner. You say, I want to build an app like Uber Eats, and it's for my 4 restaurants. That's how a small business talks.
Okay.
But we can glean from that. Here are the 28 features you need: save cards, log in, log out, and show your catalog. But we might ask you, hey, do you need to manage inventory? Because some restaurants may say, no, I have an inventory system, I don't need to manage it.
Right.
Some may say, no, I don't have an inventory. Yes, I do need that. Then the next question is, do you want us to do the kitchen automation? Or do you already have something that does kitchen automation? Or do you want it to be sort of art and craft where the chef decides? And so these become dynamic questions that using AI, we can figure out what's the right question to ask someone and then actually hear the answer, which is the key. Because if you get this right, what it means is you can have the collective insight of every single conversation power the direction of this particular conversation.
Interesting. And do you find that your technology is learning as it's going based on the answers that it's getting, so it might ask a slightly different question to a restaurant the next time?
You know, you're sort of entering the worlds of generative speech. We think that's the future.
Got it.
But the risk of it going wrong
Right.
is so high. And we've seen this in some of the examples of sort of modern generative AI. It's just more precise that it can glean from conversations previously asked.
Got it.
That we then clean up. But you know, it's one of those things that generative AI is all about infinite options. But I'm a big believer that if I had 1 billion options, it tends to infinity. Or 100 million options, it tends to infinity. If I had 1 million options, it tends to infinity. And so you don't have to generate everything. It's one of those things that we have, unfortunately, as technologists, is like, it's a cool new piece of tech, but do we have to use it for everything?
Right.
And no, because it's like an elephant, you know, to crack a nut.
Okay, final question. What kind of success stories have you had in terms of, I don't know, money contributed to the economy or folks who have jobs that didn't before? What are you most proud of?
You know, I think for us as a couple, during COVID, I saw a lot of small businesses come up who were thinking really out of the box. Now, it may not be out of the box if you were sitting in Silicon Valley, but it was definitely out of the box out of the industry they were in. That's a huge success, because if you suddenly got people being able to orate what is now out of the box to them and feel comfortable with it, we won. I think the second is the fact that, you know, we can now ship an application in a day to small businesses around the world, sort of in certain categories. That's a huge win, because you could be non-digital week 1 and now suddenly be digital week 2, and that used to take you 6 months before. But I actually think, you know, the real power here is the future. We've always thought about software as something that we have for a year. Well, what if there was a software application just for this conversation?
Right.
And so the very nature, the nature of software is going to change, and which will mean that it'll become smaller, more nimble, but it'll be more real-time in its nature.
Fantastic. Sachin, thanks so much for
you.
stopping by the increasingly warm Hub Culture studio here in Davos 2023, and I'm Edie Lush.
Thank you so much.